Welcome back to another video. You guys, today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we're doing the top 5 dwarf Indonesian python species. There are some little known pythons and some a little bit more well known, but there is a group of pythons that are truly small, maybe 6 feet and under. They're really interesting, they're really unique. I've really gotten into them in the last couple of years and I'm starting to collect quite a decent collection of them. Let's get started. Number 1, Macklots pythons. These come from the eastern portion of the Lesser Sunda Islands. They occur on Alor, Samau, Rote, and Timor. Now, some sources report that these do come from Australia, but it's questionable, and also PNG from Papua New Guinea. Now, I did at one expo in Indonesia, I met a couple hobbyists that had brought one to an expo, a rather large example, and they swore up and down that that animal came from Papua. I'm not sure, but for sure Lesser Sunda Islands, that's basically where we know confirmed where they come from. Now, there's a lot of variation among the different localities, but by far the most common one in the hobby is the Timor locality. Now, these are also called the freckled python, and the freckling on the Timor locality is so heavy that it actually kind of changes the base color to be the lighter freckling. So you end up with basically a more of a gold snake with less dark freckles, and quite the opposite is the rote. And the rote ends up being a dark chocolate animal with very, very little light yellow colored speckling. So a lot of variation within the species. So Macklots are a small snake, only reaching about 7 feet tops. They feed readily on rodents, and the demeanor can vary, but my animals happen to all be calm. And don't tell anybody, but I think we may have a couple clutches coming. Number 2, Sau Island Python. This one is a true dwarf. They're only maxing out at about 4 feet. And as the name suggests, they are insular endemic that only occurs on the small island of Sau. There is a lot of variation among the appearances of the animals. In fact, there's a silver Sau, which almost might be some sort of xanthic. But the babies hatch out like a brick red or orange color, and then the freckling sets in, and some of the animals can be very freckled as adults, and other animals can end up a majority chocolate colored with very little freckling. My animals happen to be very heavily speckled and also retained some of the juvenile coloration, at least so far. So I'm kind of excited about this project. The gene pool is very small, it's very limited. The animals were wild caught and imported for a while, maybe 2 decades ago, maybe more. And I think the last animals possibly were documented to have come in 2014. So the gene pool is a bit limited. I have a couple of pairs. My stock is good to go. Very excited about these guys. Their demeanor is can be a little bit nervous, but I have pretty calm animals. They're not snappy, they don't bite, just a little bit nervous for handling. But again, my animals are for breeding and not for handling, so I'm not really trying to break them and make them calm. It is what it is, and we're just going to let them do what it is that I hope that they do. Number 3, water pythons. These guys come from Papua, from the PNG side, and also northeastern Australia. Now, it is said that the Australian ones do get somewhat bigger than the Papuan ones. I'm not really sure on that. The ones that I have are Papuan, and of course this video is all about Indonesian and Papuan pythons, so we're going to focus mainly on those. I don't know about demeanor because my sample size is very small. When I imported the babies, they were quite snappy, but they have outgrown it, and now they are very trustworthy and very tolerant of handling. I have not handled them at all, but it's just that they've calmed down naturally on their own, which is kind of common with a lot of different python species, and they're just a dream to own. They're very, very strong. They take readily to rodents, and they're just a really nice animal to have. The iridescence is also quite nice when we get them out into the sun. Hopefully we can get some babies of those in the future. I do suspect that the Australian ones are being accidentally interbred with the Papuan ones. Some people in the hobby are really focused on locality and it's very important to them, and others are not. And I'm sure other animals are misrepresented when they're being sold at expos or resold or at shops or whatever, and the locality information is lost. I have paperwork for mine. Mine are documented. They are from Papua. And we're also hoping that we can get some eggs and keep these animals at least pure by locality. They only top out at about 7 feet, also a small snake. And yeah, they're really cool. Another Indonesian dwarf. Number 4, Tanah scrub pythons. These scrub pythons have their own species. They are Somalia nauta, and they come from Tanah Island, as you could probably guess, which is on the far outskirts of Maluku Regency or Maluku Province. They only max out at about 6 feet, and their demeanor is usually a bit nervous and also a bit snappy. Most of the animals in captivity are represented by wild-caught animals. There is some breeding going on with them. My 2 youngsters are snappy, but as I've said before in my other videos, I want my baby pythons to be snappy because it just shows that they're healthy, they're kind of programmed right. They should be snappy and defensive. And it usually also is an indicator that they're going to start feeding and doing really well. Easy feeders, usually. Really timid baby snakes scare me a little bit. So hopefully my animals with some interaction will calm down in time. I don't know, but regardless, the animals will stay small, easy to manage, easy rodent feeders, and I'm excited to at least have 1 pair, but I do plan on building the group, maybe a trio or even more than that, I'm not sure. They come in different color phases. They come in axanthic, they come in xanthic, they come in patternless of both of those, and also a pattern form of both of those. So they're really interesting animals, and I like the fact that they're dwarfs, super easy to manage. Number 4. As some of you could have guessed, number 5, Ania Papuensis, the Papuan spotted python. Now, all the species in the Ania genus are going to be very small, including the smallest python in the world, which is the pygmy python. However, most of them occur in Australia, and this video is about Indonesian dwarf python species, and that leaves only one, which occurs on Papua and PNG with a very small and limited range. They only max out at about 2.5 feet, maybe 3 feet for my largest female, but they truly are a dwarf. These are easy rodent feeders, and my adults are super docile, all wild caught of course, and they've just been chill from day one. Now the babies are snappy, and this goes back to what I said before. I want my babies snappy because they start feeding much easier when they are. And so the babies start out like that, they feed, they grow, and after a few months, they actually chill out and become just like the parents. So as you guys can probably tell, all these little pythons, they've really captivated me. They can be described as extremely rare for the Papuensis, all the way to just being uncommon in the hobby. Some, like the Macklots, have strange localities that are still not yet in the hobby. And there's also another species which is very close relative, the Dunn's python, which falls somewhere between the Sau and the Macklots. In fact, once upon a time, Sau and Duns were just subspecies of Macklots, but they're still animals that the hobby has not yet seen. And as you guys know, anything like that, I take it as a challenge and I really get after it. Now, the size makes all these super manageable, and the super dwarf retic craze that peaked some years ago has seen many breeders ruining a lot of it with morph breedings. So the purity is disappearing really fast, and it won't ever be recovered once it's gone. Once you see platinum, golden child, tiger, het albino, etc., etc., once you see that, it's no longer pure super dwarf. So anyway, for the animals covered in this video, the only morphs would be for the Ania. And I actually did have somebody express interest in using Papuensis to refresh their granite maculosa. Now, this is pretty sad to me after all the work that I put into getting them into the hobby and breeding them, but I probably will avoid customers like that. So I'm going to continue growing my collection and collecting these small pythons. They're easy to manage. They feed on normal-sized rodents. They live perfectly fine in racks, tubs, freedom breeders, or other very common caging. So popular or not, I do what I think is cool. I don't care what people say is cool. And that is it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.